want to ask you something before we jump into the video because I saw chat was asking how we're going to talk about the billboard thing. But you brought up Game Pass as an interesting question, and we were talking about this the other day, especially as it relates to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft, who has ESO but has not added ESO Premium into the Game Pass Ultimate, kind of PC version, etc., or any layer of that. So you can have Game Pass, but the optional subscription for ESO is not a part of it. And then with adding in World of Warcraft, the question is that would that end up going into Game Pass, or would we see them make a Game Pass Ultimate plus MMO where all of a sudden, like for an additional X amount of money, you would get World of Warcraft and like ESO Premium? To which my thought is that if that was actually on the table, that would be something I would consider. That would be something that would have me go and say, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and have those services so that if I felt like playing those games, that I'm not like having to come up with extra amounts of money. What do you think? Do you think that there might be a future where we see Game Pass MMO Plus or like whatever? Because they already used the term Ultimate, so it feels like, where do you go after that in terms of branding?
Yeah, it's almost like Halo Infinite was a bad plan for naming. It's almost like when they went from Xbox One to Xbox 360, we all said, where do you go from here? The people at Microsoft really only think like 1 to 2 years in advance. And so like when Phil Spencer's like, hey, I've got a 10-year plan for gaming, they're like, okay, just tell me this year. That's too much. I don't want to know about the other 9. Like they really don't like thinking that far in advance, especially when the marketing team's like, I got an idea for this Friday. Isn't that going to conflict with the thing in September? Dude, September, like any of us are going to be around in September. And they just wing it. And then September comes and like, okay, maybe we should have planned for this back in, oh God, it turns out that was last week I made that choice. And so they really don't think about that. So I don't know ESO's pricing model as well because I haven't been back to ESO in several expansions. Played to cap, haven't been back in a while. So I don't know how you make Game Pass better integrated with ESO without just knocking your revenue model off at the knees. But World of Warcraft is already set up to do this because World of Warcraft already distributes mounts and minions and things like that when you purchase other games' collector's editions. Like when I purchased Diablo 3's collector edition, because that game, Diablo 2 is amazing and they would never screw up Diablo 3. And so I just bought that totally wholeheartedly, no questions asked. I would never regret this decision. And then Warcraft 3 Reforged came out and they said you can get a collector's edition, you get a new amount. I'm like, no, I've learned this. I've been down this road. But you get like cool stuff inside World of Warcraft. So they already do that. They already do the loyalty campaign mounts, which we've seen Final Fantasy 14 experiment with in the past. Where like, hey, if you subscribe for the next 6 months, you get this thing. And they already allow you to play their base game up to the current expansion in trade for only paying a subscription cost. There is no base edition cost like there is for Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. So they're already set up to roll that in as part of a subscription plus. I don't know how they'll do it. It'll probably be really convoluted at first. It'll probably be like if you're like a AT&T Infinite mobile subscriber, you can technically go onto the website and navigate to some backwoods pane and link it to your HBO account. You get HBO Now, but every other AT&T plan doesn't get it for free. So then like they get all the marketing dollars of like with AT&T you get HBO free, and then like AT&T customers, 98% of them are like, is that me? And they're like, well, not you. And so like it's probably something like that where like Ultimate Game Pass PC players technically can link their Activision Battle.net account and they get access to the base game, but it doesn't get to go into the current expansion and it's level capped at 50. Like there's probably something like that takes place where it's a free trial plus that gets them out of Exile's Reach, their starting zone. That's how I think it rolls out. And then I think they tie it to things like mount campaigns, loyalty campaigns, things like that. That's how I picture it rolling out initially. I think it'll be clumsy because you're talking about like 2 systems that have been around for decades in totally different ecosystems. If ESO couldn't do it, which already ran on consoles, I don't think World of Warcraft's going to be great at it. I do think, however, they have to be careful how they present this because they don't want insider trading to be accused. Mm-hmm. I do think that leadership knows that there was an interest from companies like, not necessarily specifically, but like Xbox in acquiring Activision. And that led to things like, we're going to build in a back-end API for controller support into Shadowlands, but there is no front-end UI to line it up. And that felt like the kind of decision that was done if, we're not saying it's going to happen, but hypothetically, I was sitting in a meeting earlier this week, and I cannot say that we will never be on consoles. And so, like, I think that's the sort of decisions where somebody just says, while we're building things, let's just plan for multiple versions of the future, because I see some versions that seem like fringe cases, but if they came true, I would really regret not having tackled that stuff sooner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I would personally love to see WoW come into kind of a console controller, like really fully supported space. But the thing I said with Shadowlands, I was like, they still have a long way to go. It's not like you have decades of history that you're like, oh, let's just flip the controller button. You know, like 14 was designed with it at a core principle. In fact, actually, Final Fantasy 14 right now is running.
Can't do it. And they have 12 buttons.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Come on. Where's that Steam? Where's that Steam launch?
Hard to do later.
When it comes to Steam, I'm looking forward to it because I'm gonna hopefully be able to put together a Steam controller setup. I think there's some stuff, but there's all these little hoops. I'm like, I'm just gonna get on Steam. That's what they say, but in 14's case, it was designed from the ground up. Now 14's actually running into a problem with it. I've even seen people come in and, you know, like advocate like, oh, you know, it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, let's say we go to 100 or 99, like whatever, 7.0, the level cap increases, skills happen. There's going to be gaps of skills. Like we continue to see that. In fact, actually, I got a leveling roulette just the other day and I was like, oh, I can't even AoE. Like this class doesn't have any area.
Or you a Dragoon at 41 and Stone Vigil or whatever that is? Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to mass pull and it's going to make no
Samurai
difference.
Samurai as well. I was like, oh.
Yep, that's going to happen.
That's a thing. Like, okay.
And you're like, well, maybe Stone Vigil's not intended. You know, like Asmel Darkhold, it's optional. No, it's not. It's an MSQ dungeon.
So it was just something that I was like, oh my gosh, like there are gaps as the level increases because they do have a limited number of spaces. And this also, like, people like controller players is like this also at the same time, like, you don't want to have a job where you're like, I've got to use two hands to be able to do my rotations on keyboard. You know, so it's like you end up running into kind of like there's some limitations. And so I think the only logical thing that we'll see, and we're starting to kind of see maybe with the combos, is we'll see them like loop in like this ability automatically turns into this ability. You know, like we've already started to see like the makings of it an expansion ago, and maybe we'll end up seeing kind of more of an evolution of it, because then like the fear is that we keep just basically like, okay, we cut an ability here and now we put it at the end. You know, like we've seen also abilities, more upgrade abilities, and so I think we're gonna like there is a limitation. And so I know a lot of people would think of WoW coming to console, would think of like, you know, controller support, like, oh, you're gonna limit us. I was like, oh, I think that's a design problem. I don't think that's a gameplay problem. I think we've seen games. We talk about Smash Brothers. We talk about Mario. Like complexity in the gameplay doesn't have to come in the form of, you know, 18 buttons or 27 buttons or what have you. You can have that for sure, but I think we're seeing certain jobs like right now, and maybe when I'm almost as I get closer to my Omni 90, I'll have to put together kind of the controller tier list of what is the most comfortable jobs, because some of them just play like a dream, and some of them are just like, yeah, like I would definitely redo a couple of things, you know, from my perspective. But anyway, I was just kind of curious about your MMO Plus thought with Game Pass, because even if WoW didn't come to Xbox itself, you still have the Game Pass.
How's PlayStation gonna treat Destiny? They're not gonna stop it from being on other platforms, but like are they going to do anything special for the PlayStation side of things?
Well, they said that no, because they had that in the past. They had it to where PlayStation had like exclusive guns and whatnot, but you have Destiny, which is cross-play, cross-progression, what I would call true cross-play. And so you end up...
They did crap like that in Call of Duty. They like had like extra.
Oh yeah, PlayStation.
They had like extra. I don't know.
I know we'll get some PlayStation, you know, defenders coming in, being, you know, like, oh, it's like, no, like PlayStation as a brand, people like they'll come and say like, well, Xbox did it first. I was like, yeah, and then they fired everybody who did that, and Xbox has changed. PlayStation has really owned the space of, like we're gonna
somebody from Xbox stole one of your cookies one time. That guy was fired and had to bring over 100 cookies to you. And PlayStation is now taking Xbox's lunch every single day out of the fridge and throwing it directly in the trash.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but they took my cookie. When? Like 5 years ago, they took that one cookie that one time.
It's crazy because it would be more. It's almost almost 10 years. It's almost 10 years ago now. It's almost 10 years ago.
On.
It's like, come on. So
come on, guys.
On
Do you remember what kind of cookie it was? Like, come on.
I'll never forgive them. I'll never forget. But it's a lot of like just like and you see the same kind of thing with like Xbox, like avid defenders. Like at the end of the day, like, okay, guys, like what war are you fighting that like doesn't exist? And I think the proof is in the pudding. Is that Xbox is actually starting to sell as much or even outsell PlayStation in Japan. Like they are toe in toe with what the PlayStation numbers are in Japan, which is just wild. Who's there?
I mean, Phil Spencer said you can't expect people in different markets or that play different genres to come play our console if we don't have the games, and you can't expect the games to want to partner with us if we don't have the people. And so we are going to have to just invest money into the games so that they're willing to give us a shot, so that the people can, like, if you build, like, we're gonna have to break that cycle. You can't just let it be a feedback loop. So they brought a bunch of games to Xbox, and a bunch of core Xbox fans are like, who's playing these? And a bunch of fans of those games are like, why would I play it there? But he just kept doing it, and he kept doing it, and he kept doing it. And now you see people like, I mean, yeah, I ended up playing a JRPG, or I ended up playing, a game. And like JRPGs don't only come out of Japan. It's a genre at this point. But, now I saw this game developed in this part of the world, or now this player from this part of the world. It's like, yeah, I ended up getting an Xbox. And so like, but it's just been slow, steady, constant pressure. It's been like, I have a goal and you don't believe me, and I understand why, and I respect that. And so I'm not going to throw it in your face, but I'm just going to keep showing up. And one day you're going to go, you're that guy that just keeps showing up, aren't you? I did that back in medical sales. I was told, like, if there are clients that will never use you because like their head office manager is married to the rep from the other company. That's a literal thing that happened. Like they were literally spouses. And they're like, they can have anti-nepotism clauses all they want. You're never going to get that business. At some point that office manager will leave, or worse yet, they'll have a falling out with that company, or that relationship will have a falling out. Like, you just can't say never. Never is too long of a time. It's eternity. People are mortal. So they said, what you do is don't go out of your way. Don't throw it in their face. But just every time you're in the area, stop by and just say, hey, just wanted to pop in and hope you guys are well. Just was thinking about you. And you just do that. And I didn't use extra gas. Just anytime I was like in an office that's like next to theirs. And I did that, and it really wasn't that long. It was like 13 months later. They said, so we've been expanding our practice. We just bought a practice down the road, and that company can't seem to get us devices for the second location. Could you guys support just that one location? I mean, if that's what you want, sure. Like, it was effortless. I did nothing. Like, they just said, like, would you like all of our second location's business? I mean, yeah. Yeah, of course I would. And like my VP that had worked that area was like, how did you get them? Aren't they like married to the rep? Yeah, they are married to the rep. He's like, are you like an amazing salesman? I don't think so. I just did what you told me to do, and they just gave it to me. They just gave it to you? Yeah. And so like, that's what Phil Spencer's been doing. He's like, I'm just going to keep putting really cool games on Game Pass. And every once in a while you're like, yeah, I just played this neat JRPG on Game Pass the other day. What?
What?
Yeah, I just kept showing up.